to the My Life Counts podcast, where we talk about anything dealing with mental health. My name is Jared Jones. I'm your mental health coach, and we're going to go ahead and get this show on the road. First off, I want to say thank you for tuning in. This is our first show on the My Life Counts podcast, so this is a special show. So I just want to say thank you first off for tuning in. Now, we talk about anything dealing with mental health, and mental health is still has a big stigma behind it. Although COVID has done a lot of things, if COVID has done anything positive, is that it's allowed people to be willing to talk about their mental health concerns and their mental health issues. And so when I say mental health, I know a lot of people get different thoughts in their head and different ideas about what mental health is. So I want to have a working definition of what mental health is. So I was looking for a very specific definition, and I found that the World Health Organization, they have their own definition about what mental health is, and I like their definition, and so we're going to go with that. We're going to use it. It is our working definition, and their definition says that mental health is a state of well-being in which an individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. That's the working definition from the World Health Organization on what mental health is. And so I want to keep that in mind. Let me read that again, because I think that this definition is extremely important. Mental health is a state of well-being in which an individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. Now, if you notice, there is nothing in there about diagnosis. There's nothing in there about disorders or trauma or pain or anything like that. While, don't get me wrong, all of that can be in there. But this definition talks about the normal stresses of life, being productive at work, contributing to a community. And I venture to say that this is all of us. So mental health deals with all of us. You know, it is not specifically just for, and a lot of times you'll see in the movies the extreme cases. And while, don't get me wrong, those cases do in fact happen. I've seen them myself personally. But it is not only those cases. All right. And so when we're dealing with mental health, we're talking about everybody. We're talking about the mental well-being of everybody. And so today, the topic that I wanted to talk about today is isolation. Now, have you ever found yourself in a place where you wanted to isolate? You wanted the world to go away. You wanted to close your blackout curtains and stay in your room and refrain from eating, refrain from talking, refrain from just, you want to just stay in a bed. If you didn't have to get up and use the bathroom, you would not get out of the bed. I've been in the mental health field for over 20 years now, and I've seen people struggle with isolating, because it's almost a normal reaction to pain and trauma. And so I wanted to talk about, how do we get here? How do we get to a place to where we want to isolate? What's the problems with isolating? And how could you not isolate? So let's start with Well, how do we get here? I don't know when it started, but at some point we stopped being the village and we started focusing on individualism. We started focusing on being this self-made person, right? And the reality is that a self-made person does not exist. Every person had to be born. And in order for that to happen, it took two other people to birth you. And that's just the beginning, right? Even after the birth, you had to eat. Somebody had to feed you. Somebody had to produce that food. Even as an adult, you're wearing things, you're living places, you're doing things because other people have produced those things, right? And so there is no such thing as a self-made person. And I have a problem with continuously hearing about, like, you've heard the phrase the self-made millionaire. Well, where is there a self-made millionaire? Where did you get the money from? Because even if you provided a service, you had to provide the service to somebody, which now automatically takes you out of the self-made mode, right? So you are in need of other people. But for some reason, our society has embraced this idea of being self-made, this individual achievement of saying that I've done it all on my own. When A, no, you did not. And B, it is detrimental to our society. Why is it detrimental? Well, because here's what happens. You look around and you see all these so-called strong people who are self-made and they pulled themselves up by the bootstraps. Never mind how they got the boots, but they pulled themselves up by the bootstraps. And they did it all by themselves. Well, so now you get the idea that that's how you're supposed to be. That you have to deal with things all on your own. That there's no room for you to go out and get help and seek professional help or any other type of help. And so now, not only dealing with certain, finances and business, but now you're also thinking that, okay, well, whenever I'm dealing with pain and trauma, I have to deal with it by myself. Because any strong man, any self-made person would be able to get over this thing. And so now I have to deal with it by myself. So what do? Well, I isolate. I can't show you my weakness, so I isolate. I don't want you to know that I'm hurting, so I isolate. Well, what does that do? Well, when I isolate, and for some reason it seems like it's almost a normal reaction for a lot of people. But when I isolate, I start to feel worse. I take all of the burden all on myself. And I go down what I call this negative spiral, this downward spiral. And my bad thoughts start to get worse. And I get in a place where I can't stop thinking negative. I can't stop this downward spiral. I got the blackout curtains. I done closed the door. I'm not answering my phone. I'm not answering the door. And I'm isolating. And all I'm thinking about are the negative thoughts in my head. And to compound that, I'm not strong enough to get myself out of this. So now these thoughts of weakness are coming in, and now I'm even putting myself down even more because I'm not that self-made person who can stand up and deal with this all by themselves. So that whole idea has messed up our society to where we've gotten rid of the village, the community, and now we're just a bunch of individuals fending for ourselves. That's not a good way for us to survive. There's an old proverb that says, if you want to go somewhere fast, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go with a group. Well, it seems like as a society, at least here in America, we've decided to really go fast. We don't really know where we're going, but we're going fast. But we're not going far. And we're not going far because we're not going as a group. When you go as a group, now the group bears the burden, not just you. And so, how do you stop from isolating? Because isolating seems to be like a very natural thing. It's kind of like, you're feeling pain and you just ball up in the fetal position. It's almost like you're trying to protect yourself. And I understand that. It's almost like protection, but in this case, you're not really protecting yourself. You're actually hurting yourself even worse. So, after being in the mental health field for so long, I've seen things that work and I've seen things that don't work. And one thing that helps people, one of the things that I've seen that made people successful is having a support system. See, when people have a support system, when people have a caring spouse or a caring mom or a caring dad or a caring brother or somebody who cares for them, that support system is able to help them get through all of the pain and the trauma because they're able to talk about it. They have somebody who they're willing to talk to, who can carry the burden with them. So support systems are extremely important. But I also realize that not everybody has a support system. Some of the people who I've seen who are extremely successful, they have a good support system. But some of the majority of the ones who are not successful or who struggle the most, who keep coming back, they're coming back because they don't have the same support system. And so you come into this environment, whether it's an AA group or a hospital or wherever you are, and while you're in that group, you have support. You have people who care about you. You have people who have been in similar situations. You have people who are there to support you. And so during that time, you do have a support system. And that helps. But when you're not attached to that group anymore, now all of a sudden you don't have a support system. And you end up back in that room with the blackout curtains and the closed door. And so, but I also understand that there's a reality that some people just don't have a support system. Some people just don't have that loving spouse, those loving parents, those loving siblings. Some people just don't have that. And that's sad, but it is a reality. So what can those people do? Well, here's the thing about community. Community, human beings naturally, and this is my belief, that naturally human beings really care about each other. Now, don't get me wrong, our society has made it so that we are very individual. We are focused in on ourselves and our families. But how many times have you seen somebody help somebody else? on the side of the road. If somebody fell in the mall, how many people do you think would run over and help that person? Now, granted, there's a lot of people who will walk by that person, but there's a lot of people who would help as well. And see, the danger in isolating is that you would never find those people who will come and help. So I encourage people to go where people are. Go to the mall. Go to the park. Go to the gym. Go places where you know that people are going to be. And you'll be surprised how you just walking around may spark up a conversation with somebody, and that person can be going through the very same thing or a very similar situation and looking to help or be helped, and encourage or be encouraged. And now all of a sudden you've connected with a support group. You've connected with somebody who's going to help you and encourage you in the right direction. But you can't get that in your room. You can't get that not answering the phone. You can only get that when you decide to be around people. And as painful as it may be, sometimes facing the pain is necessary. Sometimes you have to just get out there and say, although I'm not feeling well, I know I can't handle this on my own. Let me go out and be amongst people and see if this will help. Now, hopefully that resonates with somebody. I know I've had my times and where I wanted to isolate and have isolated, and I know how that downward spiral feels, and I know how hard it is to come out of it. And so I want this to be some kind of encouragement for somebody who is struggling and who wants to isolate, who don't want to come out of the room, who hasn't taken a shower in 2-3 days, who got crumbs in the bed because they don't want to get out of the bed. You're not alone. People understand. There are people out there who understand, maybe not exactly what you're going through, but they have their own version of it. And isolation is not going to help, unfortunately. As good as it may feel at times, sometimes it feels good to feel bad. But it doesn't help. And so one thing that I do know is that, we're all going through this thing called life, and we all have our trials and tribulations. But the thing about life is it's a team sport. And so if we're going to get through it, even the hard times, then we need to get through it together. So, look, that's my 2 cents. Take it or leave it, but I hope you take it. And as you do, I hope you go over to My Life Counts website, which is mylc-mentalhealthcoach.com, where you'll be able to find some more information and, sign up for our newsletter, and you can get some inspirational talks. Definitely continue to check out the podcast. We'll have some guests, and we'll be doing a lot of great things and talking about it. Look, we need to talk about mental health on a realistic level where we're talking about it to everybody. So we're going to have experts. We're going to have different people. We're going to have real life people talking about their real life situations, because I know that sharing these stories and talking about these things can help the people who are scared to talk about it. and don't want to hear it and don't want to talk about it, but wants deeply to be understood in a certain way. So if you are isolating, I can say personally, I've been there and I've isolated, and I know it doesn't help. And so try to get out, try to go to the mall, try to be around people as a beginning step. Also connect with us, My Life Counts, mylc-mentalhealthcoach.com, and sign up for the newsletter and just continue to try to stay connected. All right. Well, that's it for this show. Again, my name is Jared Jones. I'm your mental health coach. And I want everybody to remember that my life does count.